Over the years, Sonic the Hedgehog has had many racing games made in his name. I mean, considering his whole thing is about going fast, it kinda makes sense. Of course, some of these games were good, some were amazing, and some were not that. But today, we've got something new, something fresh, and for it, I just have one simple question that I want to find the answer to. Sonic Racing Crossworlds came out in September of 2025 and is the latest in the Sonic Racing series after that one. I've been playing it pretty much non-stop since it came out, so now I'm here to provide you all with my completely unsponsored and unbiased opinion on everything this game has to offer, starting with the gameplay gimmicks. Now, when it comes to the world of mascot kart racers, you typically expect them to introduce a new gimmick that's used throughout the entire experience to set themselves apart from the rest. After all, with so many racing games to choose from, they've gotta do something to get your undivided attention. But here, we don't have one gameplay gimmick, we have 4. And what a fantastic 4 they are! To start, we have a gimmick that some of you may or may not already be familiar with. In Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing Transformed, another game in the Sonic Racing series, every track was based around the gimmick of your car turning into either a boat or a plane during different parts of every race. And here in Sonic Racing Crossworlds, they bring that same gimmick back in its entirety. The car operates basically how you'd expect from your typical kart racer. Meanwhile, the plane adds the Y-axis to your movement, giving you full 360 control of your vehicle. As for the boat, this vehicle specializes in allowing you to pull off a bunch of drifts very quickly, making you boost ahead at high speeds at the cost of more slippery movement. Performing a drift as the boat also causes you to jump into the air for a moment, which can be used for various tech among the wide variety of tracks. It's nice to see this gimmick brought back, and let me just say, it does wonders for the track design in this game. Speaking of tracks, the next gimmick I want to talk about is the one that gives Sonic Racing Crossworlds its name. You see, when you start a race, the first lap will take place on the initial track that you selected. However, at the end of that first lap, 2 warp rings will appear that each lead to another track in the game. From there, the player in first place can choose one of the 2 rings by driving on either the left or right side of the road, and whichever track they decide, they and everyone else will be sent to the specified location, and race along that alternate track for the second lap. After that, another warp ring will appear that sends everyone back to the original track they were on for the third and final lap. And depending on the track, something will typically change for that lap, whether it be a new shortcut opening up or completely changing the track's layout. And I think this gimmick is amazing. No matter how many times you play the same track, every race will always feel somewhat unique because of the randomness of the second lap. This makes for some of the best replayability I've ever seen in a racing game, and is one of the many reasons why I consider Crossworlds to be one of the best racing games ever made. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. After all, there is actually a slight problem I have with this gimmick, despite how good it is. You see, in Sonic Racing Crossworlds, there are 2 different kinds of tracks: the main tracks and the Crossworld tracks. Main tracks are the options you can select before a race, making that the track that you race on for the first and final lap. Meanwhile, Crossworld tracks can only be selected as the second lap of these main tracks, and have no proper first and final lap of their own anywhere in the game except for time trial mode. So if you were hoping to play a 3-lap race with your friends on some of the GOATs like Roulette Road or Galactic Parade, then you're fresh out of luck. And to make matters worse, after beating the first 7 cups in Grand Prix mode, you permanently unlock the ability for main tracks to show up as second lap options, though they apparently only have a chance of showing up if you select the random Crossworld option. So if you want to guarantee a Crossworld track for the second lap of a race, then you either have to select the predetermined Crossworld option or gamble. Though that's also assuming you're even the one in first place who gets to choose. This problem, of course, doesn't hinder my enjoyment of the game at all. It's just kind of a shame that these great track ideas just feel kinda wasted in a way. But anyway, let's move on. For our next gimmick, we have the Gadget Plate. By participating in races, you can unlock things called gadgets, which you can equip to your Gadget Plate. Doing so will give you a variety of different buffs that can help you win against tougher opponents, such as being able to collect rings easier, charge your drifts faster, or Whee! Spinning! There's a whole bunch of different gadget combinations you can try, so you're heavily encouraged to test out as many as you can to find one that's right for you and your playstyle. And for our final gameplay gimmick, we have the car customization. Now, looking at this, you're probably sitting at your computer housed away in your parents' basement, saying something along the lines of, "They just stole this idea from Mario Kart 8. Well, firstly, go take a shower. Second, touch grass. And third, you're wrong. In Mario Kart 8, you are able to combine pieces of vehicles together to give yourself your own set of stats that fit your playstyle. And while that's also technically something you can do here, there's way more to it than Mario Kart ever gave you. From giving your vehicles their own custom color palette to decorating them with decals, and even equipping them with different kinds of horns. You can truly make any vehicle in this game feel like your own. This not only applies to the cars, but also the Extreme Gear, which they brought back as a vehicle option from Sonic Riders. In addition, any vehicles you make are automatically saved to your kart selection screen, so you can select and edit them at any time before hopping into a race. However, as fleshed out as the car customization here feels, surprisingly, here is where another problem with the game comes into play. While the car customization is mostly polished and has a lot of neat features, I feel like it excels more in the creativity department rather than the fundamental one. What I mean by this is that the different car parts that you can use to customize your vehicle are limited to specific subcategories. For example, there are speed-based car parts that excel in the speed stat and power car parts that prioritize the power stat. You can combine speed-based parts with other speed-based parts, but there's no way to combine a speed-based part with a power-based part to have an equal balance. Of course, even within the subcategories, the different car parts still have their own varying stat differences. But since they're all made to focus on one stat build, the stat differences they provide just feel way too minimal. In addition, the Extreme Gear as a vehicle option is what makes up the boost category of parts, and cannot be used for any other stat. So, if you want to play on a cool hoverboard, you really have no choice but to base your playstyle around the boost stat, since that will be the vehicle's main focus no matter what parts you use. Hey guys, Future6 here. I just wanted you all to know that while I was editing this video, I found out that the way stats work in Crossworlds is completely fucked up. I don't have the time nor patience to explain the intricacies of each one, so instead, I'll just be linking a video from Fast Clingy in the description below that goes over the way each one works. Go give it a watch if you're curious. To describe the issue in a nutshell, you really only have 5 vehicle options to choose from, with each just having a wide variety of visual customability. I wouldn't necessarily call this a huge problem by any means though. After all, the fewer options you have, the easier it is to pick one and get right into the racing, so there's at least a silver lining there. An even bigger issue, however, is that they don't even give you an option to delete any vehicles you've made that you don't want cluttering up your selection screen. Even if you make a new one by accidentally selecting an empty slot on the customization menu, that blank slate vehicle will now forever be listed as a selectable option, whether you like it or not. However, that about does it for the game's gimmicks. Between these 4 different features, I feel like everyone adds its own layer of enjoyment to the game, creating an experience that we've truly never seen in any racing game before it. But of course, it's not just these gimmicks alone that give the game its charm. After all, you can't have a mascot kart racer without a unique character roster. When it comes to the roster in Sonic Racing Crossworlds, it can be a little difficult to explain, so bear with me. For the sake of keeping things neat, I've divided the character roster into 3 categories to talk about: the main cast, the free DLC cast, and the paid DLC cast. Of course, let's just start off with the main cast for now. As the Sonic Racing title of the game implies, this game is mostly centered around characters from the Sonic the Hedgehog series. Understandably, we've got the expected character picks like Sonic, Shadow, and Amy, my dear polyamorous trio, but we also have some more unique picks here as well, like Sage from Sonic Frontiers, the fucking Egg Pawn, and Zavok.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Now you may have noticed that I said the roster was mostly Sonic characters. That's because the 2 sets of DLC characters you can get both feature characters from series that aren't Sonic related. I brought up Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing Transformed earlier when talking about gameplay gimmicks. But that clearly wasn't the only area where the Sega All-Stars games had an influence on Crossworld's development. In the Sega All-Stars generation of Sonic Racing games, there weren't just Sonic characters, but also characters from all across Sega gaming history. And in Sonic Racing Crossworlds, Sega adds in a new character to the roster every month, each one coming from one of their various other popular IPs. This includes the like of Ichiban from the Yakuza games, Joker from Persona 5, and
Hatsune Miku! Is that you? Have you found ways come to put me out of my misery?
Now I bet you're wondering, if they're just letting people play as Joker and Hatsune Miku for free, then what other characters could they possibly have that are worth spending money on? And I'm glad you asked. Because the paid DLC characters are even more batshit insane. You see, whereas the free DLC characters pull from characters that Sega themselves already own, the paid DLC cast revolves around characters from IPs that Sega doesn't own. Now, with that little hint, I'll give you 5 seconds to take a guess of what characters made up the first paid DLC pack that Sega released. Time's up! Did you guess Mario? 'Cause if so, you're wrong, it was Minecraft. That's right! For a few extra bucks you can play as Steve, Alex, and the Creeper from Minecraft. And not just that, but the paid DLC packs for this game also come with unique vehicles and tracks for the characters, meaning you can also race around the Minecraft world in a goddamn minecart. This is what peak gaming looks like. In case you're curious what the other paid DLC packs are, you should know that the IPs they chose also aren't just limited to video games. Want to race around Bikini Bottom in the Krabby Patty Mobile as SpongeBob and Patrick? Well, you can. According to my list here, there's also DLC packs for Pac-Man, Mega Man, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Avatar: The Last Airbender. So do with that information what you will. But anyway, that about does it for the character roster. I suppose now all that's left to talk about are the game modes. In total, Sonic Racing Crossworlds has 6 different game modes. 3 that were made for local play, and 3 that were made for online play. Let's start with one of the more classic ones, the Grand Prix mode. The Grand Prix mode is something that pretty much every racing game has, and is a local play mode where you'll race through the various tracks of the game in batches of 4, as well as earn gold trophies by ending up in first place by the end. There's a total of 10 Grand Prix Cups in all, with each being centered around 3 tracks each. And for the 4th race in every Grand Prix, the game will utilize its Crossworld gimmick to the fullest, making you race through all 3 of the previous tracks at once, with each track making up one of the 3 laps. And let me just say, both the tracks and their music in this game are absolute perfection. Within these tracks, you can also find and collect 5 red rings, which will net you some extra goodies if you manage to collect them all. As for what those goodies are, don't worry, I'll get to them. For now, let's talk about rivals instead.
Do instruments of torture count?
No. Not those rivals either. Before selecting a Grand Prix Cup, you'll also be assigned a rival, which will act as a tough CPU racer with only one goal in mind: beating you. These rivals will also have unique interactions with whatever character you play as when the Grand Prix starts, making for some funny commentary.
You're supposed to be royalty, right? Woo! Combo cool, baby! Yeah! Fight the power!
In addition, if you manage to beat every rival character in the game, then you'll unlock the ability to play as Super Sonic, an overpowered character with maxed out character stats and invulnerability to all attacks thrown at him. For obvious reasons, he's only locked to Grand Prix mode and can't be used anywhere else. Of course, if we could use him in time trials, that would be nice. Time trial mode is also a pretty standard racing game feature where you'd go to push yourself to your limits, and see how fast you can complete 3 laps on every individual track in the game. Get a good time across all 3 laps and you'll be awarded an A rank on that track, or an S rank if you play to absolute perfection. Earn enough A and S rank medals and you'll be awarded with new music from across Sonic history that you can listen to in the jukebox menu. And that's really all I have to say about it. It's a pretty lackluster mode overall, and I never really cared for its inclusion in any racing game, though earning music as a reward for playing is a nice touch. As for our final local game mode, we have a much more unique option in the form of Race Park. Race Park is a multiplayer co-op focused mode where you can play either with a team of CPUs or friends, and face off against rival teams in a variety of racing events. For the most part, these races function just like any other in the game, where the higher you place, the more points you score. The difference here though is that all of the points that your team earns are combined into one overall score, meaning that even if you yourself come in first, it doesn't mean much if all of your teammates come in 10th, 11th, and or 12th. In other words, they essentially just brought back the gameplay of Team Sonic Racing, but just relegated it to a side mode rather than having it be the main event. Good call, Sega. However, in most of the Race Park modes, getting a high place isn't the only way you can earn your team points. There will typically always be some kind of bonus goal to focus on during the race, such as collecting the most rings, hitting the most opponents, etc. And if your team collectively did better on that bonus goal than the other teams, then your team will have some bonus points added to your score, allowing you to turn the tables if you were in a close second position. And when you successfully beat a rival team in any Race Park event 3 times, you'll be given awards such as additional vehicle parts, which you can then use for your customized vehicles. Although, since Race Park is a local mode, you might think that you can only beat these rivals and unlock these rewards by playing with people in person. And if you don't have any friends or family around that are interested in grinding out races with you, then it may dampen your enjoyment of this mode. Thankfully, you can also grind out the Race Park rewards by playing in a private online lobby via the Friend Match game mode in the online section. This way, you not only get to avoid playing with split screen, but you can also grind out those team-based rewards with other people no matter where they are in the world. Speaking of online, let's talk about the 2 other online modes. For the basic online mode, it's about what you'd expect, where you and 11 other people are put into a lobby, vote on one of the 3 track options, and then partake in a single race before starting the cycle all over again. As for the rewards you get for partaking in this gameplay loop, you'll earn points depending on how high you place in the online matches. Earn enough points and you'll level up to a new rank, starting from E- going all the way up to the elusive Legend rank. With every rank up, you'll also earn some special rewards, like auras, which you can apply to your vehicles to give them a neat little visual effect. As for the other online mode, you actually can't play it whenever you want like all of the others. Hey guys, Future 6 here again. Before I talk about the final game mode, I just wanted to mention that Sega actually released an update that added a fourth online mode called Legend Competition. It's essentially the same as the basic online mode, except you can only play it after reaching Legend rank. The game says it's also a limited time event, so I don't know if it's going to keep showing up occasionally, or if it will be banished to the ether when the initial time limit is up. Regardless, I just wanted to mention its existence. The Festival mode is a gameplay feature specifically open during certain weekends where Sega holds events based around their various DLC characters. During these events, you'll play in the same team-based modes from Race Park, only this time against and with actual people from around the world. With every race, you'll earn points based on your placement just like in the basic online mode, only instead of ranking up, you'll unlock event-specific rewards like decals, horns, and titles when you reach a new milestone. All in all, I think every game mode in this game is great, and have completed each and every one of their achievements. However, there's one achievement in the game that I've still yet to beat, and the reason for that can be explained by discussing this game's problems. Let's start off by addressing the elephant in the room. Oh Jesus Christ, what am I filming in a zoo? Where are these animals coming from? Throughout the video, you may have spotted glimpses of these. These are Donpa tickets, Sonic Racing Crossworld's main in-game currency, which you can earn by playing any mode in the game. And before we get ahead of ourselves, the problem I have with these tickets has nothing to do with their mere existence. I think in-game currencies that you actually earn by playing the game are a great incentive to experience as much of the game as possible, and keep coming back to it so that you can continue to unlock more content. However, the problem with Donpa tickets stems solely from just how expensive the unlockable content is. To help give you a better idea of what I'm talking about, let's do a little math. On average, you'll earn around 20 tickets by participating in a race within Crossworld's many game modes. And according to this comment I found on the Holy Land of Information, Reddit, you need 266,440 tickets to unlock everything this game has to offer. So simply do 2,066,440 divided by 20, and you get 13,322, which is just the bare minimum of races you need to play if you want to 100% the game, assuming you even place high enough in specific races to get 20 tickets consistently. But for the sake of argument, let's say you're just the GOAT and always get those 20 tickets with every race. If every race takes on average 3 minutes to complete, then we simply do 13,322 times 3 divided by 60. And our math shows that you'll have to play for 666.1 hours. And that's not even including load times. Hell, you could even erase that 0.1 at the end, cause these prices are goddamn satanic. As for that one achievement I said I haven't been able to get, it's one where you need to buy all of the horn options. In total, that's 13,000 tickets and 32.5 hours of grinding. So I guess I know what I'm doing for the next 2 days of my life. In case you're curious why it takes so many tickets to 100% Sonic Racing Crossworlds, it's not even because of the price tags on decals and horns. It's actually because of friendship. And no, I'm not joking. This is the friendship menu. Here, you can give characters of the main cast a whole bunch of tickets to earn extra decals, titles, and finally, an alternate skin that makes your character look like their AI rival variant from Race Park. And it's here that we get into a completely different problem. This problem isn't so much about the fact that it takes so many tickets just to unlock the skins, but more so about the skins themselves. Being able to play as the AI racer is cool and all, but these are literally the only skins in the game. Well, except for Sage, who has one extra than everyone else. And why is this a problem? because there's so much missed potential here. You're telling me that you made a whole ass menu option for every main cast character to have skins, but you didn't bother actually making any skins for them? I would have killed for a Sir Percival skin on Blaze, but no. Instead, all I get is the goddamn cum robot. And hell, I don't even get that, because in the latest update they made her AI skin blue, so now this joke doesn't even make sense. I need to take a break. Okay, let's continue. As for our next problem, if you've ever played a Sonic Racing game of the recent past, then you may remember that there was always typically a mode designed for single-player challenges called the campaign mode. And in every Sonic Racing game I've played, the campaign mode has always been the highlight for me, allowing me to progress through levels and unlock things like other characters without feeling like a repetitive grind. And in case you aren't picking up what I'm putting down, Sonic Racing Crossworlds has no campaign mode. The closest thing it has to it is Race Park, but that mode by all means gets repetitive very quickly, as you're just playing the same 6 modes over and over again to beat all the different rival teams. It just feels like a bit of a shame that such a big part of the Sonic Racing franchise was just scrapped and replaced with a bunch of other new features, as good as those features are. But as far as problems go, I can excuse the campaign mode's exclusion. In fact, I can excuse a lot of these problems for that matter. What I can excuse, however, is the fact that the auto acceleration feature in this game doesn't work. It's hard to show off in the gameplay, so I'll just do my best to explain how it functions as well as I can. You can turn auto acceleration on and off in the vehicle selection menu before a race. And while this will allow you to accelerate without touching the accelerate button, the problem lies in the fact that it only works if you don't touch the acceleration button. This means that if you even so much as press the acceleration button for a second, even if by accident, auto acceleration will immediately turn itself off for a few seconds before turning back on. I'm assuming they designed it like this because there are a few track layouts that kind of require you to slow down on higher speeds to make tighter turns. However, the fact that pressing the acceleration button puts your ability to move on a timer is just awful design, and puts the player at a significant disadvantage against players who don't use auto accelerate and can freely slow down and speed up whenever they please. If it were me, I'd design it so that pressing the acceleration button can slow the accelerator down, but then by pressing the button again, they can immediately turn auto acceleration back on themselves. This way, people who use auto acceleration not only have the ability to slow down for tighter turns like intended, but are also given just as much free control of their vehicle as other players. However, until or if Sega fixes this issue, Crossworlds might not be the racing game for you unless you're looking to put your thumb to the test. Hey guys, Future 6 here for a third time. So, they fixed it. The game is playable. Personally, I don't think any of these issues are too bad, and can pretty easily be ignored given just how fun the rest of the game is. However, taking them into consideration, what's my final verdict? Sonic Racing Crossworlds is an amazing game, no doubt, and even with its flaws, I just can't put the game down. This video probably would have been finished much sooner if I could. The thing that I like about Sonic Racing Crossworlds is that it feels like the near perfect combination of every Sonic Racing game that came before it. You've got the extreme gear from Sonic Riders, the transformations and diverse character roster from the Sega All-Star games, and of course, the upgraded team-based modes of Team Sonic Racing, all combined into one package. Mix those with the completely new features like the Crossworlds and the Gadget Plate, and this game truly feels like an experience you can't get anywhere else. So then, the question still stands. Do I think Sonic Racing Crossworlds is the best racing game of all time? Well, obviously the quality of a game is completely subjective, but for me personally, I have to say the answer is yes. Although it may be lacking in terms of content made for single player, the multiplayer experiences you can have with it both offline and online are simply unmatched. And thanks to them constantly adding new characters into the game and giving us events to play through, I can see Sonic Racing Crossworlds having a good, long, healthy lifespan ahead of it. However, if you're really looking for for a racing game with a more prominent single-player experience, then there's actually another racing game that came out 2 months after Sonic Racing Crossworlds that I like just as much and that I can recommend. So with that, feel free to subscribe so that you don't miss my next analysis video where I'll dive into one of my new favorite racing games, Kirby Air Riders. Wait, am I just a racing game channel now?